Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Martin. You can probably tell from my accent that I'm not from around these parts. Anyways, I was looking at Daniel's outfit there, and I saw the whole get up, the whole helmet, and I was like, man, that'd be kind of nice to wear so that I wouldn't be so nervous in front of you all tonight. And so it's kind of hide behind the helmet there. I took notice, my slides, I have a bunch of slides. It's about the only way my brain functions at this point is by using a slideshow. So if the slideshow crashes, I'm just gonna kind of sit down and we'll all go home early. How about that? Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, I might put that on a little later. But yes, so what should be up right now is on the slide will say, what is your treasure? That's what I wanted to share tonight. What is your treasure? Okay, so where is your treasure? Where do you keep your treasure? You keep it in the bank? Do you have like a special account in the Cayman somewhere? What is your treasure? Is it a new house? Is it a new car? What do you do with your treasure? Do you store them? Do you use them? Do you just stare at them? I'm not sure if you guys ever read any of the Lord of the Rings, and they have the dragon that just like loves staring at gold coins and stuff. Anyways. What do you do with your treasure? So what is treasure? Like, define what treasure is. So Webster defines treasures as two different things, and I like these definitions. One is wealth, such as money, jewels, or precious metals stored up or hoarded, buried. That also be buried treasure, a store of money in reserve. Another definition of treasure is something of great worth or value, also a person esteemed as rare or precious. So I hope tonight that we have a different view of what our treasures are and what we should be doing with them. That's my hope for tonight. So first off, who am I? So we'll go into that. Clickety click.
No, aim towards there.
Aim towards there?
Yep, and hit the other button.
Other button. Hey, there we are. Look at that good-looking family right there. I heard that last night you guys had a guy who looked just like me, and so he was a very handsome man, apparently.
He had a beard, so.
Oh, okay, so he covered more of his face than I do. But I heard he was very good at singing, and that's one of the things that God did not gift to me. And so if I were to sing to you guys, everyone would probably turn their hearing aid off, or there'd be people leaving. So I'm not going to sing to you guys tonight. But this is my family. My wife Maria is there standing beside me. We have a daughter Aria. She is 4. She's standing there in front of me. And my son Frederick, he's 7. He's standing beside me. And my youngest little daughter, her name is Evelyn, and she is 2 years old. This photo was taken at the Wright Brothers Memorial out at Kitty Hawk. So I'll get into that a little bit, a couple slides from here. I'm training right now to be a missionary pilot mechanic. That's the long-term goal. So we had a very interesting opportunity to fly out to Kitty Hawk as a family. We're originally from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, not Lancaster, Lancaster. Say it faster and meaner, and then you got it, like Lancaster. All right. We can tell foreigners when they come to Lancaster because they'll say Lancaster. Just like you can tell I'm a foreigner because I'll say Pekin, or I'll say instead of pecan, or I'll say Appalachian Mountains instead of Appalachian. So I'm learning, I'm trying, I'm growing, but it's taking me a little while. So why did this northern boy move to the south? Why did this Yankee go rebel? I'll go here. Like I said, I'm currently training at Missionary Air Group in Burlington, North Carolina. So I'm training right now to be a missionary pilot mechanic. So far I have my private license. Right now I'm working on my instrument rating. And so as of today, I was flying 3 hours inside of the airplane without looking outside. So you just stare at your instruments and happy days are here again. And so I'm learning, I'm growing, yes. So my primary flight instructor, there you can see, sitting there beside me. His name is Alan Brooks. He used to fly for VF Outlets, VF Industries, as their corporate pilot. And he has more hours flying jets than I have hours breathing. And he is very talented at what he does, and he is my flight instructor. I love this man. My wife is almost jealous of how much I love this man. Like, he is like a brother to me that I never had. So what does MAG do? Missionary Air Group have primarily, their main focus is in Roosters, Honduras. They have a field hospital down there where they serve about 25,000 Mosquito Indians in the area. And they have a hospital there. They also have an air ambulance. And they also do like a pastoral training as well, where you can see them, they're baptizing somebody right there. Next. So what comes next for us? So after we get all done trained here in Burlington, where we will go next is, we don't entirely know yet, wherever the Lord leads. Right now we're looking at a place called African Inland Mission. They are in Nairobi, Kenya. And so we're looking to maybe go over there and visit and just kind of see the ministry firsthand here in September. Me and my wife are going to take a journey over there and see what they all got going on. We're also looking at another mission in Zambia called Flying Mission Zambia. I just love that name, because what do you guys do? We fly. What are you? We're a mission. Where are you located? Zambia. It's all right in the name. It's a beautiful name. It's a fantastic name, by the way. But anyways, we're going to go and visit them as well, and to see where the Lord leads. So do keep praying for us about that. The Lord will make it very clear where he wants us to serve. All right. Enough about us. And I told Daniel this earlier. I either have like 5 minutes of material here to go through, or like an hour and a half. I don't know. I'm a very bad public speaker. And so we may be done here in about 5 minutes, or we'll be done here in 2 hours from now. And so I don't know. But there's a very real possibility that I'll be done early. And if you have any other additional questions about what we're doing and what comes next for us, you can go ahead and ask them later. Okay, where and what is your treasure? All right, is it a private jet? I'm pretty cool. Is it large stacks of money? If you have large stacks of money, you buy a private jet, the stacks get really small after a little while. What is it you value? What is something that you wake up early for, you stay up late for? What is it that drives you? What is your treasure? Like, we all have something. What is it? Like, what is something that you think that you would drive? What would make you drive overnight tonight to go do somewhere tomorrow? What is it? What is it, something that you'd wake up at 2 a.m. tomorrow to be somewhere? I need to be somewhere to make this happen. We all have something like that. We all have something that we value so much, right? What is your treasure? What is it? So recently, I inherited a bunch of new treasure. Let me show you. Oh, look at that! Oh, what a wonderful thing that is. I am a landlord. I still own the house that we used to live at when we lived in Pennsylvania. It's a duplex. And so I own it, and we had tenants in one side and tenants on the other side. Anyway, some of my tenants finally left, and let me tell you, they finally left. Hallelujah. Oh, yes. I had to do a repair on their house, on their side of the house, about a year ago now. And I discovered that they would start having a collection of guinea pigs in my living room without me knowing about it. So they had about 15 guinea pigs, a couple of rabbits, all types of really wonderful things. And so anyways, after some talking and whatever, we decided, okay, June 30th of this year, you guys are moving out, right? And so they finally left. So what this slide said beforehand was, I worked harder than you. I don't care if you get upset about that statement. I did work harder than you for at least a couple weeks here as I cleaned up that junk. I worked 16, 17 hours a day cleaning up junk. Oh. Huh? Yeah, and they're gone. Yeah, they left all this stuff. They left tons of stuff. Tons. I did 6 loads to the landfill. I did 6 loads to a local Goodwill. The Goodwill was like, bless your heart, just don't come back again. Right? And oh man, what a rough thing. So finally, they were gone. Anyways, not only did I work harder than you, I smelled way worse than you guys did for like a week and a half at the beginning of July here. Like, really bad. So those are all stains on the carpet. If you look right here, you don't see that. Right there, that's the carpet when they moved in. They put a TV stand over it. That's what the carpet looks like after they left. Just dark and stained, and the stains go all the way through. Oh, I cut out all the carpet, and I was doing it all by myself, and I had to stack it up on my trailer. And this carpet is saggy and sticky and nasty, and I'm by myself, and I'm pushing the carpet up, and I'm getting really close to it. And it's after a nice 16-hour day, and I'm all sweaty, and
They didn't murder somebody, did they?
no, not that I know of. Not that I know. I didn't want to ask, you know. Then the police have to come and everything, you know. As long as they're gone, it's all right, you know. Yeah. And fortunately, the underlayment protected almost everything. So it was awful. But finally. So then we made it all nice again. And so what you can't see it real well is I put this backsplash on in the kitchen, and it's like a stick-on, vinyl, stick-on backsplash. Let me tell you, isn't very good. And I made our bathroom all nice, and I just made the house all beautiful again. So why did I do that? Why did I do that? For the money! Yeah! Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, it is great money having tenants. I mean, other than, you know, them having guinea pigs and making your floor all nasty. But other than that, you know, I did it for the money, right? You know, it's my treasure, right? You know? Oh my. I have here written, people are so deeply driven by money. I like true crime podcasts and true crime stuff. I'm not sure if you guys ever listen to like Dateline or watch Dateline or anything like that. So many of the stories are because money, yes. Oh man. All right, so let me give you the origins of this talk, because I've been thinking about treasure and stuff for a while now, and what you see up there is my very fine, lovely, enjoyable automobile that I had for years and years and years. And you may not believe this or not, but I did that very professional paint job on there. And so, love this car. I bought this car for $500. Every time I filled up with gas, I added about 1/10 of the value to it every single time. I put new tires on it, and that doubled the value of the vehicle. But I love this car so immensely much. What's that?
Your wife made you sell it.
Yeah, no, I sold it. So before we moved to North Carolina, we lived in Ohio. And in Ohio, they don't have anything called vehicle inspections. And then I moved down to North Carolina, and just like in Pennsylvania, we have them too. But vehicle inspection, right? And so that, unfortunately, is what made me sell my beloved Mazda. This, if you can't see very well, is all beautiful rust going on right here. That's my main frame rail, and on both sides it looked like that, and then from the rear it looked like that as well. And so, yeah, really, yeah. And so, one accident, and I would have turned to a poop of rust, and so it was time for it to go. I said it had tissue paper strength. And that I was the crash test dummy. Well, you might just call me a dummy, I'm not sure. So I bought new, sorta-ish. This was the 2006 Mazda 6. The person who owned it before me had an essential oil diffuser that they like using. Unfortunately, the essential oil that they like to use was tobacco, and the diffuser that they used was a cigarette. So it has a very deep smell of cigarette smell to it, but other than that, it is very well taken care of and very, very nice. And I started thinking about this, and I want to take care of it now. I haven't had a vehicle for so long that I value. Like, my previous Mazda, like, if a deer would have hopped out and totaled it, we would have got some cheap deer meat. I don't know, like, it wasn't that much of a problem, right? But now I treasure this and I value this car, right? All right, so Matthew 6:19 to 21 says, Jesus says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. Lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is where your heart will be also." So we all know these verses, right? We've all heard them before, right? So why is it so hard for us, like, to fully comprehend these verses, right? Why are we so focused on here and now? And we know that where our treasures are, our heart will be also. We know that to be true, right? And I have written here that you may have already heard the saying, "More money, more problems." So there's truth to that, right? You know? All right. Moth, rust, and rot. So what you can't really see a whole lot here, but this is the USS Constitution. It's a boat. So what it is. It's the oldest sailing warship in America. The Navy owns it. And they had to keep it floating and working, and so they were running out of white oak. And so what the Navy did to do for this is they got a whole forest in Crane, Indiana, 50,000 acres of woodland for one boat. We have a lot of rot problems, right? Like everything here destroys, rots away, right? And I said here that, you know, if you don't believe in rot, just drink 9 Cokes a day and don't brush your teeth, and you will see what rot looks like. All right. Rust. So I'm from the north, right? And this is what every 4-year-old car in the north looks like after a while. Just from our rust, you know. Not quite that bad. But the AAA, the insurance people, they estimate that $3 billion a year is spent on rust problems, rust repair. And it took me a little while to wrap my head around what 3 billion means, right? But 3 billion seconds is 93 years. That's what 3 billion seconds is. I used to work at a body shop, and I was the news guy there, and so I was the poor soul in the northern body shop that had to fix rust. So I have a bunch of rust fragments in my lungs right now. But anyways, rust is awful. All right. Thieves. Talking about seconds, the average of $184 a second is stolen in fraud every second. Every second. Now, I think that comes to like $5.8 billion a year is stolen in fraud. Right? My son, okay, not just my son, me too. I love YouTube, right? And my son also really loves YouTube as well. And one of his favorite people on YouTube is Mark Rober. I'm not sure if you ever heard of him. He does like the whole squirrel obstacle course thing. And so anyways, I downloaded a clip here. What he did was he invented this little box. He called them his glitter bombs. And what he would do is he would have them on the front porch somewhere, and the box would look like a gaming system or like a phone or something, and people would come and steal them off people's porches. And inside the box, it would explode and glitter would come out, and it would spray them with spark spray. So anyways, I have a little clip here I want to show you. And what I want you to see from this is just how good these people are at stealing your things. Just watch how fast they are at breaking in.
And failing and tweaking over and over again. So while we did have a couple useless car boxes and a busted window, we also knew their MO, which meant we now had a plan. And that plan was to shrink the box down even further to fit it in a backpack. That did mean we had to make some compromises, like losing the camera and reducing the fart spray reservoir down to this improvised pouch. But to make sure that it was still adequate, we sprayed it on this chair, and not only did it still last for 2 minutes, but we left that chair outside to air out and confirmed a few days later it was still in real bad shape. So with renewed hopes, we once again hit the streets, this time with 2 backpacks in 2 separate cars parked in 2 different spots. And as fate would have it, they both got hit within about 5 minutes of each other.
Just watch it.
Trying and failing and tweaking.
Did you see how fast they got into the car like that? That's crazy. Like all the stuff that you might have and have safe in your car and it's locked and everything, they can just break in and take it like that. Now, if you're all as smart as Mark Rober, we could have like something that would actually have fart spray, at least get back at him a little bit, but you know, I don't have the smarts. But anyways, so we know that all of our earth-based treasures are rubbish, right? We know that they all are just kind of, they're gonna rust, they're gonna rot, they're gonna get stolen, right? So what are our treasures in heaven? What does that mean? Putting treasures in heaven, what does that mean? And I was thinking about that, and the only reason I agreed to speak tonight is because my mansion in heaven needed a bigger deck, and so that's why I came here. Every minute is just one more plank. So yeah. Anyways, no. What does it mean to have treasures in heaven? And I don't know if I can even comprehend exactly what that means. The thing that comes to my mind right away and instantly is family members, friends, loved ones, Recently, I worked with a guy at that body shop I mentioned earlier, and his wife just passed away. And he had on Facebook about how he thinks about the song "I Can Only Imagine" and going up to her and hugging her in the future, right? Like that's a treasure in heaven, right? But like I don't know what else it all means. Like what does it all mean to have treasures in heaven? But Matthew's not the only place that mentions treasures. So we're going to go to 2 Corinthians 4. Lots of little words up on the screen. I'll read it here for you, unless you guys know it all by heart. This 2 Corinthians 4, it says, "Therefore, since we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we do not lose heart, but we do have renounced the hidden things of shame, not walking in craftiness or handling the words of God deceitfully, but by manifestation of truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of God. But even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing, whose minds the God of this age has blinded, who do not believe, lest the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, through the image of God, should shine on them. For we do not preach ourselves, but Christ Jesus the Lord, and ourselves our bondservants for Jesus' sake. For it is God who commanded light to shine out of darkness, who has shown in our hearts to give the light of knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellency of the power may be of God and not of ourselves. We are hard-pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, not destroyed. Always carrying about a body of dying of the Lord Jesus Christ, that the life of Jesus also might be manifest in our body. For we who live are always delivered to death for Jesus' sake, that the life of Jesus may also be manifest in our mortal flesh. So then death is working in us and life in you. And since we have the same spirit of faith, according to what is written, I believe and therefore I spoke, we also believe that thereafter to speak, knowing that he who raised the Lord Jesus will also raise us up with Jesus, and will present us with you. For all things are for your sakes, that grace, having spread through the many, may cause thanksgiving to abound to the glory of God. Therefore we do not lose heart. Even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but a moment, is working for us far more exceeding an eternal weight of glory. While we do not look for the things which are seen, but for the things which are not seen. For those which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal." So there's a lot there, but I want to really focus on verse 6 and 7 here. So I'll just read them again here. "For it is the God who commanded light to shine out of darkness, who has shown in our hearts to give the light to the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellence of power may be of God and not of us." The treasure Paul talks about is the knowledge of Jesus. Knowing Jesus. The grace of Jesus is a treasure. Right? So what eternal treasures do we have? We have salvation, we have hope, we have peace, and we have the Bible. Salvation. Salvation is a free gift. None of us have ever earned it. None of us will ever earn it. It is a free gift. I remember when I'm old enough, even though I may seem young, I'm old enough that I remember when we had to pay, you used to have to pay for games. Like if you wanted to play like Need for Speed, you had to go out and buy it. Like that was awful. But then came along free games, and now you can just load your whole phone up with them. You can play Candy Crush and whatever, right? So free, right? And I went kind of crazy, and now my phone is like bogged down. But anyways, but free, do we lose the value of free? Do we lose the value of what our salvation costs? just because it's free. Like, we didn't have to do anything. I have written here the story about, not to see what time it is. There's the story of a cruise ship. Imagine, have any of you been on a cruise before? Right? Yeah. So if you're on a cruise ship, imagine if someone come along and offer you a helicopter ride off of the cruise ship for free. You know, like, I'm kind of happy here. Like, when I was on the cruise, we had an excellent restaurant, and you could eat as much as you wanted to. And if they offered me a ride off of it, I'd been like, yeah, I'm good. It's okay. You know, so like the free ride was still free, but but I heard a story about a cruise ship that started on fire in the northern Pacific, up near Alaska and stuff. It's below freezing outside. It's raining. The cruise ship is on fire, and the people are about to get onto lifeboats. Now, if someone would have offered you a free ride to hop on a helicopter at that point, sounds pretty good. I mean, that sounds a lot better than being on the burning ship. So, how do we view our salvation? Do we view the hopelessness that we have without it? Do we view the value of it? The Bible, do we view that as a treasure? Do we spend time in it? I read an article here. It said, if you ask people to name the best-selling book of all time, some will say the Da Vinci Code, or another one will say about Harry Potter. This was written by a secular person. But the fact is, the Bible is still the best-selling book in America. Woo! Despite the great sales numbers, however, it is also the least read book in America. It says, don't get me wrong, most people in America own a Bible, and a large number even own more than one. But to borrow the line from a less biblical question, 9% of people who don't read the Bible and the other 10% lie about it. Even many regular churchgoers in the Bible Belt only dust off the copy long enough to carry it in Sunday services, and then they toss it in the back of their seat and that's until next week. So, don't get defensive over this one. Because I was just as guilty as anyone else. Right? Like, even in the midst of this, like, I'm supposedly a missionary now, right? Like, this is what I do for a living. I'm a missionary. But even then, it's like, do I spend time in the Word? It's so easy. I told you earlier, I like YouTube. I can find myself wasting hours on YouTube. This video looks interesting. I'll forget about it in a week, but okay. But spending time in the Word, oh my, that almost feels like a job. Like I almost have to work on that. Like I have to try hard to read the Word. Yeah. Anyways. Stats of the treasure that we are misusing. So there is 1.5 billion people with a B, billion people in this world that do not have a Bible in their language. A full Bible in their language. There's 128 million people that don't have scripture at all in their language. That should keep us awake. Another gift that we have is hope and peace, right? Knowing that our future is taken care of brings us hope, and peace knowing about who is driving the ship, who's in control. I saw this great clip on YouTube about imagine you're flying on a flight somewhere and you're sitting there and all of a sudden you see the pilot go walking out with a parachute on and jump out and you see all the flight stewardess, they all hop out behind them. Your hope and peace would be pretty much over at that point. But luckily, we don't have that in our lives. We have God sovereignly in control. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels that the ecstasy of power may be of God and not of us. So here's the problem and the responsibility. It's a big responsibility. this treasure we hold in our earthen vessels, right? And you hear crazy stories about, like, I'm not sure if you guys ever listen to like Voice of the Martyrs or get their magazine or anything like that, and you hear stories about how God works through these amazing, like works through these people amazingly, and that the gospel gets spread because of that, right? And the testimonies that they have. But we are earthen vessels and we have earthly problems. Some of the things I have written down here is divorce, church splits, church corruption, celebrity pastors, internet abuse, lawsuits among Christians, and spiritual and physical abuse, right? So I was just working through this here, and it's staggering, the divorce rate in the Christian church. And I know that divorce is a big subject, and I'm not going to get into that here, right? But our witness is tarnished if we are spilling hatred towards our fellow, our past spouse or whatever, and then trying to show love to our neighbor at the same time. It doesn't work. We can't spill hatred towards another Christian and try to show love to somebody else, right? And missionaries are just as guilty as this as anybody else. Majority of the reason why people leave the field is not because they don't feel called there anymore or anything like that. It's because they just hate the fellow missionary. Like, they can't stand them. They're all jerks. Church splits can sometimes be something that's healthy, but sometimes it is full of hatred and backstabbing, and just gossip. Church corruption is millions of dollars a year. Millions. I saw big, different reports on how much is wasted every year in church corruption and embezzlement and stuff. I said celebrity pastors. If being a big pastor, there's nothing wrong with that. But I read this snippet and it definitely hit me. When we define the success of our pastors by how much conferences they speak at, how many book deals they have, or how many followers they are accruing on social media, then the metrics for pastoring have gone off the rails. Those are worthy and wonderful accomplishments, but they cannot be replaced or become the standard by which we determine success. Pastoral success ought to be defined by the transformative changes that are happening through the Spirit of God within a body of believers and within the church's neighborhood. Church leaders must reclaim the role of shepherd, humble, sacrificial, so intimidating the way of the shepherd. And I see this somewhat, and I see pastors growing up that are so focused on being somebody and not being a pastor. And we gotta root this out of our Christian church. It's hurting our witness. And then I had internet abuse. And I wrote down internet abuse because I didn't know if there'd be any children here, and so I wanted to make sure that I didn't misuse any words here, but porn is an epidemic in America. And we have got to acknowledge that. We have got to acknowledge that tonight, how bad it is in America right now. It's awful. Barna Research is a Christian research people, and they say 68% of all church-going men and more than 50% of all pastors regularly view porn. And when it comes to Christians 18 through 24, 76% actively search for porn. And there's also 25% of women that are using that as well. I have had so much struggle with porn in my life. And even now, I'm only 9 months clean. Just gonna say it. But we need to acknowledge how bad this is. And we need to focus on it, and we need to get a hold of it. So I don't want you leaving tonight to not trust your spouse or your sibling, but we need to wake up that this is a real problem in our churches. I have here lawsuits between believers. Again, this is another big subject. Yeah, if we're spilling hatred towards another believer because of something that we're suing about or whatever, that's awful. It's hurting our witness. And then just spiritual and physical abuse in the church. We are, me and my wife are Anabaptists, we're Mennonites. There is in Lancaster, there's big Mennonite Amish area. You probably know Lancaster, PA because of the Amish or whatever. But there is a lot of spiritual and physical abuse in the Amish Mennonite church. And I'm sure that there is a lot in churches around here too. It's just a thing that we need to root out. Okay, so what do we do? What is there to be done? Well, we focus on the last verse of the section that we read earlier there in 2 Corinthians. Well, we do not look at the things which are seen, but the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. What we need is we need a new pair of eyes. We need to refocus on the unseen, on the eternal, and not just that which is passing away. Everything here is disappearing. And all these things, the previous things I was talking about in that couple slides ago, all that comes from us focusing on the here and now, focusing on right in front of us. But we can have eternal eyes, and we can have a focus on what is beyond. A lot of those other things will be taken care of. All right, so what is your treasure? What will you set your heart on? What will you give your time and energy towards? What are you willing to give up to surrender, to get the treasure, and will you tell others? I have 2 Kings there, 7. It's a great story about the 4 lepers that the Syrians were surrounding the Israelites, and they put a siege around the city, and the lepers were like, well, we're going to die here. We might have to go to the Syrians and see if they'll give us any food. So they go over there, and in the middle of the night, the Lord chased away all of the armies, right? And the 4 lepers came there, and they found gold and silver and food and clothes. And I love this line. And after they were there for a little bit, they said to one another, "We are not doing right. This is a day of good news, and we remain silent. If we wait until morning, some punishment will come upon us. Now, therefore, let us go up and tell the king's household." Are we that way with the treasures that we have? Are we that way with the Bible, with salvation, with the things that have been given to us? Do we view them as enough as a treasure, and are we willing to go and tell other people so that they too can enjoy the amazingness and the treasures and the blessings that we've gotten? Anyways, that's my little speech for tonight, and so hopefully I will not sing. Sorry, I'm just not going to. So,
How much longer do you have in your training?
so I have about another year, and so we need to kind of figure out here in the next little bit where we're going to be serving long term. So that's a big prayer request for us. Another year here in Burlington though, so yeah. My next test is in October. Knowing my instrument check ride. So instrument training. So flying through the clouds is perfectly legal, perfectly great. It's wonderful. But to learn how to do that, you have to train with these special foggles, they're called. And I think I actually have a picture of it here. There, yeah, look at that handsome man. Anyways, you have these sunglasses where you can't actually see outside at all. And so, so I have my flight instructor sits here, Alan, great man. And then I fly, and I don't look outside. So today I flew for 3 hours without ever looking outside. Just take off, just inside the whole time. So.
Will you be just flying?
Yes, that'll be our primary ministry. So African Inland Mission is where we're looking at right now. And they've served in, they have the main base is in Nairobi, Kenya. But they fly a lot into South Sudan, a lot into DRC, kind of all the different hotspots there, basically. And so there's no infrastructure at a lot of these places. And so they're moving missionaries and supplies, doctors around, medicine around, and stuff like that. And so
Is it dangerous where you'll be going? It could be.
Yes. I mean, it will be, yeah. Not crazy, but getting kidnapped happens fairly often, once every couple of years. Huh?
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, it's a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit, and so, but, like.
Your children, what are their ages?
My daughter, youngest daughter is 2, and that's actually why they're not here right now. My youngest daughter is 2, and she has hand, foot, and mouth disease, and so she's recovering. She's almost all the way back now, but she still has pimples around her mouth and everything. So I have a 2-year-old daughter. I have a 4-year-old daughter. My 2-year-old's name is Evelyn, and my 4-year-old is Aria, and my 7-year-old is my son Frederick. And so yeah, he's actually born on my birthday, January 18th is the same day. So yeah.
And your wife, is she a pilot as well, or?
She is not a pilot. I'd love to train her someday. I'd love to be able to get my trainer's license and actually train her. I think she'd be great at it, honestly. I mean, she takes care of our children; they're all still alive somehow, and so I mean that takes a lot of skill. And so yeah, she's not a pilot. She keeps telling me whenever we fly together that she's like, "Oh, I just couldn't possibly do this," you know. You're being too humble, and I think she'd do this fine. So, yeah.
Is your wife from Philadelphia too?
Yep, we're both up there from Pennsylvania, yep, and so, yeah, it's about a 7-hour drive, to get back home again, and, we've trained our children good enough now, whereas normally about a 2 to 3 stop, exercise. We need to do 2 stops anyways for gas, so 2 stops for gas, and most times we have about a 3rd stop for bathroom. That's about the extent. We just keep them nice and dehydrated the whole time, you know, that way they never, you know, they'll be like, "Daddy, I'm thirsty." We'll get you some in Pennsylvania, all right? So there you go. But yeah, so it's a 7-hour drive. It's a 3-hour flight, and so unfortunately we don't get to fly there very much. Most times we're on the ground, so that's all right. So we just do that. Yeah.
What do you think of the South so far?
So far, I like the South. I may be a northerner, right? But I hate snow. I just hate it so much. And so we have like snow and ice and all these other miserable things up there. And it's always so dark in the winter. It's dark and cold and awful. And so far, your winters down here have been great. I've only been down here for 1 winter so far, but this is wonderful. I love it. I don't know about this whole summer thing yet. I don't know. This might fry this poor northern air here, but so far I'm enjoying the South quite a lot.
Do you have sisters and brothers?
I do have 2 sisters. The closest one is 9 years older than me, and so I'm a baby by quite a bit. Yeah. And so my one sister is married, and the other one is not. And my sister the old one I'm married has 3 children. She has 3 children as well. So, yep. And so,
Any other missionaries within the family?
no, not within the immediate family, or in my cousins or anything like that. It's also really unique, because we had to raise our own support, before we started on the journey here, and yeah, no one has had experience of that before, and so it was very interesting to go up to them and be like, will you please give us some money? It was very much like, you know, your whole life, you don't want to beg, you don't want to beg, you don't want to beg. You're like, look, we believe this is what God has for us. You guys want to partner with us or not? And a lot of people came on board, but yeah, so that was definitely a challenge of ours. And so, yeah, God came through. And so, yeah, and like I said before we came down here, we were living in Ohio. Where we were living in Ohio was called Missionary. We lived in a place called Shopkins. But we were working at a place called Missionary Maintenance Service, and we actually worked on missionary airplanes. And so that's where I get my mechanic license from. And so I am an airplane mechanic now, and I'm working on the pilot side of things. But yep, I worked on missionary airplanes for about 3 years up in Ohio there. So got to go around the world a little bit. Got to go to Zambia. They work on some missionary airplanes there. Got to see their big daddy long leg, or not the thousand leggers that were about a foot long. Yeah, they were a whole meal. You could just fry them up.
Favorite place you've been?
Favorite place I've been? Whew. I went to Bible school when I was 20. Like I was telling you earlier, I was a kid back then. I went to Bible school in Asia, and it was a Bible school focused on missionary training. Was the whole idea behind it. And so part of the trip, so I was in Thailand, and so you would do little trips out from Thailand. And one of my trips was to Tibet. And Tibet's probably my favorite place in this whole wide green earth is Tibet. The people there are just so wild. Like, they just have rosy cheeks, they're beautiful, and they are just wild. You look at them, they just look wild, and if I could choose anywhere in the whole world to live, it'd be Tibet.
Was it a lot of snow?
We were there in the summer, so it wasn't a whole lot, but you could see the Himalayan mountains all the way around you. Everywhere you look, there would always be one Himalayan mountain somewhere. And so they were all snow covered. But yeah, this is how wild the people were. We were tenting on the hip side of the mountain, and we heard a herd of yaks going by us. And we're like, oh man, like we wake up and we hear yaks going by. I'm like, oh, we're gonna die. I'm coming home, Lord. And then like shortly thereafter, the farmer, the lady, she came and opened up our tent fly, you know, just to say hi, you know. And so she didn't know who was inside. She just opened it up, looked down at us, and said, "Dasha Dilly," and that's how you say hi in Tibet. And we're like, "Dasha Dilly," you know. And like they say like in Asia, like privacy is a public matter. And so you know, you're just laying there and good morning, you know. Tibet is my favorite place.
How long have you been in missions?
For about 3 years now. About almost 4. And so yeah, we're looking. We'd like to go for as long as we can, you know. Especially wherever we end up in the world, we'd like to be there for a prolonged amount of time. Just to learn language, learn culture, dig roots, you know. And so, yeah, we're 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we don't know how long. So, but yeah, so, yeah, please pray for us about God making it very clear we want this to serve long term. It's a big part of it right now.
Any other questions?